What's up? This is Tom Froming from TwinsDaily.com, and we're talking about Josh Donaldson still, kind of, I guess. It's worth pointing out Monday evening, I'm recording this, he has not signed, so he's still out there. The Twins have said they're pessimistic. I, before that, even said I was pretty pessimistic, but he is still available. John Bonus at the site at Twins Daily wrote a really nice rundown of a lot of the things that we've been talking about plan Bs to Donaldson, which, Donaldson's already like plan C or D or E or F or whatever. So obviously, as we keep going down the list, things get sketchier and sketchier. But I did want to point out, it was interesting, I thought, to get a perspective outside of, the Twins universe, outside of the Braves universe. MLB trade rumors in their most recent chat, Mark shared a question, and it got almost 2,000 votes. Is Josh Donaldson asking price too high? And 84.5% of voters said yes. So, I mean, it's not ridiculous for a team to not want to meet that asking price. That's all I'll say on that, and we'll kind of progress on to here are some alternative options, and they are not nearly as good as Josh Donaldson, okay? There are some really nice free agents still available. Unfortunately, they don't really appear to fit into the Twins. You've got, Nicholas Castellanos, Marcell Ozuna. That would force somebody to have to come in from the outfield to the infield and play first base. In Ozuna's case, I guess it'd be Max Kepler, even though he's a tremendous defensive outfielder. And Castellanos, I kind of threw it out there I called it a galaxy brain idea of signing him and putting him at first base. But he's probably going to need a 4-year contract. He's still really young for a free agent. So to sign a guy to a really big deal and then kind of try to shoehorn him into your situation isn't really ideal. Difficult to see the Twins going after either of those guys harder than other teams are right now. They just make a lot more sense to other teams than they would the Twins, to be honest. Then, as I said, recording this Monday, Eric Thames, Daniel Hudson, a relief pitcher, and Jose Iglesias, a shortstop, all signed today. Another name off the list is basically where we're at. And I sent this out on Twitter. I basically predicted that the Twins are going to sign Brock Holt. Everybody's going to be all pissed off, and then he's going to become their favorite player. That was kind of an off-the-cuff, joke at the time, but I don't know, man. After looking at it some more and seeing some of these other options dwindle, I'm starting to think that Brock Holt's making some sense. Now, I've been on these move Miguel Sano to first base bandwagon for a while. I talked about that in another video. I'll link up here. But I made the point that, Marwin Gonzalez is a better defensive third baseman than Miguel Sano. So if both of those guys are going to be playing, basically every day. Rocco doesn't play anybody every day. But if those guys are going to be primarily playing, it would make more sense to me to put Marwin at third and Miguel Sano at first. So I kind of like that idea of moving Sano to first. So Mitch Moreland is a guy on the free agent market as a first baseman who could make sense for the Twins. But again, I'm kind of interested in getting Sano over to first base. I think that's going to be his defensive future long term. So signing Holt gives you another guy who's an infielder. And, let's be honest about Luis Arraez. We all love him. We all enjoyed watching him, but he was a rookie last year. There's really no guarantee what you're going to get from him going forward. And any kind of depth, obviously Adri Adrianza's still around, but any kind of depth is going to be helpful in that situation. So let's take a look at Brock Holt real quick. And what I'm going to pull up here this is on Fangraphs, obviously, as you can see. The past 2 seasons, all batters who have minimum 600 plate appearances combined those past 2 years. I have this sorted out by on-base percentage. Check that out. Brock Holt has the 35th highest on-base percentage of that sample of 263 batters. That's the top 13th percentile that he's sitting in. You can see one spot above Nelson Cruz. Now, I will say, obviously, Nelson Cruz kind of slugs a little more, just a little bit more than Brock Holt. So, and Brock Holt has a 350 BABIP over that same stretch. So there's certainly some luck involved in both his batting average and his on-base percentage. However, that 9.8 walk percentage is pretty solid. So that gives you some indication that, the 366 OBP is probably higher than, what you'd usually expect out of that performance the past 2 years. But he's an on-base guy. And with the Bomba squad, a team that's racking up homers like crazy, that's a valuable skill to bring to the table. And again, plays everything but center field and catcher. So this is a guy who could sort of compete with Marwin Gonzalez in that scenario for regular time at third base. Any insurance is good. And Adrian's is there, Marwin's there, but Brock Holt's the guy I think could make sense as a versatile player for the Twins. So again, Brock Holt, 366 on base percentage the last 2 years. Let's jump over to Baseball Reference and take a look at Marwin Gonzalez over that same span, 323 on base percentage over the last 2 years. So, I think Holt could make some sense, kind of in a similar mold to Gonzalez as a super utility guy, jack of all trades, but he's been a lot better the past 2 years. What about the pitching? Always with the pitching, right? My biggest frustration of the offseason is that they didn't go harder after Ryu. 4 years, $80 million to Toronto. Number one, that doesn't seem like a ridiculous amount of money. It's a good amount for an injury-prone guy who's 32. But he went to Toronto. There's really no, there wasn't like the Mad Bum or Wheeler talk of, he wanted to go to Toronto. That's where he went because they gave him the most money. So I'm definitely frustrated with how that whole pursuit went. Honestly, there's not really another guy out there who really jumps off the page, but I'm going to throw out an interesting name. And that interesting pitcher is Taiwan Walker. Now, the Twins have been signing some more experienced veteran players so far this offseason. I don't know if that's by design exactly, but those are the guys they're landing. Walker is extremely young for a free agent. He's only 27 years old. And what I have pulled up here on BREF is a 3-year span from 2015 to 2017 in which Walker was healthy. He hasn't been healthy the past 2 seasons, unfortunately. But as you can see here, he had a 4.10 ERA, a 1.25 whip, and a 3.06 strikeout to walk ratio. Those are all very solid numbers. And a 1.02 ERA plus. I'm going to point that out specifically because I find it interesting that was exactly Jake Odorizzi's ERA plus the year before the Twins acquired him, his final season in Tampa Bay. So kind of an interesting coincidence there. But again, Walker, that was 2 seasons in Seattle, 1 in Arizona, and those were his ages 22 through 24 seasons. So like I said, let's get that out of here. He's barely pitched the last 2 years. You can see 13 and 1 inning the last 2 seasons. That doesn't mean he hasn't been learning. Guys can learn while they're hurt. Guys can pick some things up. Guys can physically grow and, mentally mature, and understand a little bit better what, major league hitters are trying to do by studying film, by picking the brains of guys that they're around. So, when I think of Taiwan Walker, I don't see any reason why he can't return to this guy that he was in this 3-year stretch. And again, he's only 27 years old. So to me, he represents a more high upside potential than the other starting pitchers in the market. Now, you do have Alex Wood, who's also, I think he's about to turn 29, and he's been very good when healthy as well. So he's interesting. But guys like Ivan Nova, Yolis Chassin, they've had degrees of success. They're more like they'd be like another Homer Bailey to me, essentially. Walker represents a guy who could be, somebody who takes a step forward, and that intrigues me. Now, it's not Zach Wheeler intriguing, but he's out there. I'm not frustrated or anything. You can tell, I'm sure, but it is what it is. And I will point out that we haven't, in this discussion that we've had here, we haven't gotten into trades at all. I do think the Twins are going to be aggressive in the trade market. It's very difficult to predict anything. So on my end, that makes, trying to analyze things very difficult. But the same can be said on the Twins front office. They may have ideas of guys' prices, and they might ring out those GMs and find completely different answers, or that guys that they expect might be available aren't available. So I don't want to make it sound too pessimistic about a potential trade, because the Twins have a great system to trade from if they want to. But these are sort of the guys we know are available. So yeah, Brock Holt, Taiwan Walker, tell me why they're not interesting.